sneak preview. Alright, now I'll begin. Wow. It's curiosity. It's already curiosity. I haven't even actually started yet. So, actually in June I missed a few days of Toastmasters. Maybe you noticed, maybe you didn't notice, I'm not so sure. But the reason I missed actually is because I was traveling around Korea with my parents. This is my dad and my mom. Very cute looking. This is actually them on Sorak-san. And this was actually their first time in Asia, their first time in South Korea. So I was very excited about this. And I took them, everywhere. Gyeongbokgung, Cheongbokgung, down to Gyeongju. It was actually a little bit of a reversal. When I was a little kid, my parents used to always try and, with my brother and I, have us exercise as much as possible during the day so we'd pass out at night and there'd be no problems. And that exact same thing was happening with them. At 9 o'clock every night, be like, hey, you guys want to go see some music? No. They fell asleep because we were up and down mountains all the time. It was great. Went to Ulleungdo actually, stayed at this hotel here. It was on top of a cliff overlooking everything. Went on up, they actually tried some sunset. Got my favorite sunset, Samgyeopsal, Galbi, Dongmyeongju. But while I was there, while they were visiting, there were a few things that made me nervous. One thing would be, of course, their fashion. It's a Korean drama. They were actually they're not part of it, really. But I was a little bit nervous with them coming over for a few reasons. The first of all would be, of course, my mom is actually allergic to red peppers, so that made eating very difficult. We had to be very creative in our ordering. Galbi was the #1 choice there. And the other thing was my father. I was very nervous about him. We had a famous incident in my family when we had traveled to Spain before. We had what we call the Coca-Cola incident. We went to Spain at, you know it? Were you there? Were you following me? But we were in Sevilla and we sat down in this cafe and this waiter comes up and he says, oh, what would you like to order? And he says it in perfect English. My dad whispers to me, Joshua, can you get me a Coca-Cola? And I look at my dad. Dad, #1, cola is the same in every language. And #2, he speaks perfect English. My dad's just like, can you order me a Coke? Can I get a Coke? And the waiter just goes, oh yes, of course, no problem. So this was just in Spain, in a European country, not too uncommon. They'd been there before, but still there was this difficulty. So when they came over, I was nervous about things like this. But can you actually imagine what I was most nervous about? Anyone? Ranjan.
Your mom eating a pepper.
Yeah, that was one thing. That's one thing. Anyone else? Actually, a little bit strange. I was nervous about this problem. I wanted, like what? It's a city. That's Seoul, if you don't know that. I was worried about what they would see. I wanted them to have a good impression when they came here for these 2 weeks. And I was really worried that they would see not this, but Seoul looking more like this. The typical, very, very polluted Seoul. So what I'm actually talking about, I know that's a little bit of a long introduction to my main topic, but I love my parents and I want to share them with you. So it's an overly long one. Pollution in Seoul. Now this problem is something I've actually talked about with my students before. In debate class, thank you for the flash. No photos, please. In debate class, it's been a very popular topic with my students, and we've tried to come up with creative solutions. One of which, my favorite that a student came up with, was that we should replace all the cars in Seoul with bicycles. Now this is a great idea. They gave this awesome statistic that during traffic jams, bikes in Seoul actually move faster than cars. Great idea. However, then I imagine a day like today, no aircon, outside, businessmen in the suits, biking to work, getting to Jonggak, going into the office and just drenched in sweat. Not a great idea. So I started thinking of my own solution. Solution to Seoul. And I kept coming back to this. Now, what is this? This is actually the Keeley curve. Now, maybe you've seen this before, Al Gore's Inconvenient Truth. Basically, it shows the increase in the last 50 years of CO2 levels, of carbon dioxide in the air. Now, that's kind of boring. You know all about that. But what's cool is these little squiggles. Now, these squiggles are showing that every year it goes up and down. It fluctuates. Now, why is that? And the reason is, during the spring, the plants come out. And what they do is they breathe in, and they suck in all the CO2 during the spring. So, logically you're thinking that my solution for the problem of pollution in Seoul is plant more trees. It's a little bit boring. Very typical. And we've done that before. Korea actually has one of the biggest reforestation nationally programs in the world. And they've got things, you know, like the plants, they've got the Cheonggyecheon. But the real problem with this in Seoul is that most of Seoul looks like this. It's concrete everywhere. There's no room for plants. Where are we going to put them? It's packed. It's a very busy city. So my solution, my amazing solution, is that everyone in Seoul should be required by law to carry a plant everywhere they go. What do I mean by carry a plant? I mean actually carry it. Everywhere you go, carry that plant. You must carry it everywhere you go. Now, I know the pictures aren't very good, but these are the best I could do. I Googled it for hours and hours. Like Korean children carrying plants. I found nothing. Now, this would work for a number of reasons. First of all, plants have been shown to help with not only the pollution of the air, but also, you know, mental pollution. It's shown to have a calming effect in hospitals. Secondly, it actually taps into the virtues that Korea is already exhibiting these days. You know, the candlelight protests, millions and, well, thousands and thousands of people protesting civic duty. If you can carry a candle, you can replace it with a beautiful plant. So there's this idea of getting involved with the actual change in your country. So it helps with that. But the main reason why this is such a good idea with the plants is that for every plant you've got in a room, it actually clears out 100 square feet of the air. It creates a bubble of cleanliness. Okay? Now, I know some people are skeptical about this idea. It's a crazy idea. Why can we not do that? First, people would say it's a bit expensive. Oops. She's got, that's plants growing out of her head. I don't know why I have that in there. But the solution, of course, is that we could always carry more. Now, this guy here, let me jump ahead a little bit. Some people are saying it's too expensive. But there's this man here. He actually is just one man in his life. His name is, I'm going to pronounce it terribly, terribly wrong, Dharpali Ramya in India. Actually, going back to our tanning story. He is actually, in his life, he's actually handing out, his goal is to hand out 10 million plants. Now, if he can do it, why can't anyone else? Okay. The second problem, of course, is, almost done, I promise. The second problem, of course, is in the winter. What happens then? You know, the cycles go down. But there are actually many, many plants that don't die off in the winter, which is why we're actually going to have a new solution for Korea, a new theme, a new saying. You've heard of, you know, dynamic Korea, Korea sparkling, all that. We have our new one. It's going ahead to it. I'm pine. I'm pine. Thank you. Okay, that's our new saying. So what I'd like you to do, just to finish up there, I would like you to really imagine a life where you're working with our plants, you're walking with our plants, teaching with our plants. The subways smell like a forest. If you're at a baseball game, it's just a sea of green around you. People, when they're going to go on dates, you know, always you're wanting to know. You're wanting to know about the person, you know, will they be good with my kids? So it'll be more like this. Yeah, I want you to go out with my friend Bob. Is he handsome? Is he rich? He has a great plant.